Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision. Awesome, guys. So welcome today. So today is going to be a pretty cool one. We have Jason Wong, and he's an award-winning packing manufacturing innovator and CEO of PackinDuck, specializing in custom solutions across paper, plastic, and metal for high-growth consumer brands. With serial entrepreneurial success, including building Doe Lashes to a $15 million valuation and serving as CEO of Pug House, Jason brings firsthand experience of packaging pain points combined with East-West supply chain expertise to revolutionize traditional manufacturing. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you for having me. What an intro. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I actually really like listening to the intros because I don't know, sometimes it just really grounds me and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I do. I've been busy all day and that's what I'm doing here. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So you have built many brands before, right? And have you ever owned a factory before with these other brands, or is this the first time that you've actually owned a factory with PackinDuck?
This is the first time. So I started my own brand starting when I was 17 years old. I'm 28 now. So for the last 10 years, I was just running my own brands. I had home decor, apparel, makeup, skincare, and whatnot. And Packing Duck was really started about 2.5 years ago to solve the pain points that I was facing when I was running my own brands, which is it was really hard to work with factories overseas. So I took all the money and resources I had and went and go bought a piece of factory in China. And that's how we got started.
That's awesome. And so what made you decide that you wanted to transfer into packing? Because you've done quite well by creating these consumer brands in the past.
Well, to be honest with you, like consumer brands are fun to build, but they are extremely difficult against certain headwinds. Tariff might come up or faced with ads might not work anymore. There's just a lot of factors that will affect the future of running consumer brands. And at the 10-year mark, I look back and I said, you know what, I think I want to do something else. I wanted to challenge myself. And I think there's a lot of problems that I was facing that I knew I could solve if I was put into the other side of this relationship. And so I basically said I'm going to leave running the brands behind and go straight into providing the brands that you know that that was just like myself. So we got into packaging because I felt that packaging was one area that no one's really solving for. It's a industry that everyone needs, right? Every
Mhm.
single product on earth needs packaging, regardless if you're selling toothbrush to a cookie to a washing machine, it comes in some kind of packaging. So I felt like that industry was very ripe for some kind of innovation.
That's cool. And tell me a little bit more about this, because when you say like it was problems that weren't getting solved, what was the hidden need that you had addressed and identified in your consumer base that wasn't being tackled by packaging companies? What'd you find?
For sure. So, right off the bat, a lot of consumer brands, they don't actually work with the factories themselves. They would find a middleman, and oftentimes they find the person who's making their core products to also be the person making their packaging. So, for example, let's just say I'm making a phone case today. I'm spending so much time developing, designing the phone case, and I'm typically, for most cases, asking whoever's making my phone case to say, "Hey, you've made phone cases for 20 other brands already. You probably know a good packaging guy. Why don't you just do my packaging?" So the person who's making your phone case is now making your packaging, but they're adding that markup in between. So
Mhm.
right off the bat, a lot of people are not working directly with the factory, which means less customization, less flexibility, but also
Mhm.
not the best pricing. The other thing is a lot of factories in China actually do not work with outside factories or sorry, outside clients. A lot of them
Mhm.
only speak Chinese, so they work with domestic companies. And those domestic companies are what we call trading companies, and their
Mhm.
entire role is to be the bridge between the Chinese factories and the end consumer. But those people also take a big percentage in between as a broker. So us,
Mhm.
by being the factory ourselves, buying into these facilities, we're able to give people factory direct pricing. So that's number one. Pricing is number one, but also the other part, which is I think equally important, is the quality standard. There is tiers to packaging. You've probably opened an iPhone or an AirPod. You've seen that box open up very
Yep.
nicely, but you also seen other boxes that look very similar, but they do not open as nicely as they are. there are tiers to it. And I think we like to strive to be the highest tier of packaging we can provide.
Mm.
And that oftentimes is quite challenging to find for most people.
Okay, cool. Is that something when you first started getting into packaging that you knew you wanted to do? Are those things that you're like, this is going to be some of our brand promises, some of the things we're going to guarantee to customers, or did that sort of develop along the way?
We knew that was the level that we had to go after. If
Mhm.
we weren't striving for that level, there's really no need for us to be in this business. We're not the inventor of custom packaging. We're really, I would say, one that can do multiple functions within this business very well. We're not just a manufacturer, we're also a media company. We're also a technology company that we're building. So our company is really split up in three prongs, right?
Mm.
Their manufacturing side, where very straightforward, we make boxes. But number two is our multimedia arm, where we make short form content. And to date, we've done about 40 million views this year alone across different social media. And through those content, we're able to showcase people behind the scenes of how things are made. One of my favorite show growing up was How It's Made. You ever seen those little 30, 45-minute episodes of how gumballs are made or how
Yeah.
pieces are made? That was my favorite show in the world. And I want to bring that same idea to packaging. And I think a lot of people just are curious, but honestly, it's not the first thing that they think about. But when you bring it out in front of them, they're like, wow, actually, I didn't know how cardboards are made. That's very interesting. So through the videos, we're able to educate millions and millions of people, get so many eyeballs, and in turn bring the demand back to our factory. And the third arm is the technology arm, where we're leveraging AI to tie it all together. We're using AI to work faster, work more accurately, and we're able to see things that humans typically cannot see at that pace. And we're able to see little flaws and imperfections through our manufacturing that other factories might not have the equipment to do. So I think that's really what
Mm.
makes PackinDuck stand out.
That's very cool. I love that. I didn't know that the content you were creating was similar to like it's like yeah, how we make things, which is cool. And I think we all are very interested in how things are made, but you don't think about it right away, and then you don't think, well, where am I even gonna find like how is packaging made? Right?
Oh, and
Yes. No, no. And then when we have it, we're like, this is actually really enjoyable. So tell me a little bit more about this because I know that you're based in the USA, right? So you're based in the USA, but your operations are in China. So tell us more about the structure of the company and how you're able to sort of have all of this running and do what you love. Because I know you're mainly focused on the media aspect, which is what you're most inspired by.
the media, the clients. I love working with people, and I think I've been very fortunate to meet an amazing team and have great partners in the business. So our COO in China right now, who's in our office day in day out, I actually found him 10 years ago on Alibaba. I was on Alibaba, which is a trading platform where you can find manufacturers. And I was for my first company at the time. And he was my sales agent. And we've developed this friendship over the year where today he oversees all our business functions in China. So I have a very, very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to be able to find someone like him. I also have a great CFO who travels between the Middle East, China, and Canada, who works with me on a lot of our client projects. So, I think a lot of the day to day, the heavy liftings with the operations, I have great people around. So I don't need to be there as often. I go back maybe 3 times a year. I'm mostly in the US now because our clients are based in West Coast and East Coast. So time zone wise, I can work with them better. And then within our teams, we have a great media team that churns out videos. We do research, scripting, production in house. And then we also have a large project management team where every single client gets 1 to 2 dedicated account managers. And then we can also loop in specialists. If you want us to specialize in plastics, in paper, in metal, in glass, we have specialists that we can loop in for that. And when we also have a great creative team and a creative director that helps handle end-to-end design inquiries for our clients. That's how we built our company. We've built it not in a very conventional sense. There's really no like hierarchies. There's no tiers. We're all really working towards the same goal, and that's how I like to tell our team. Like everyone on the team are on the same level. We're all trying to shoot towards the same goal, and that allows us to move a lot faster. There's no bureaucracy that we have in our company, and we're still quite small, so
Mhm.
hopefully we won't hit that anytime soon.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I'm curious as well, since, China is very different than the United States. Is there a difference in how you manage employees, China versus US, how you're hiring, how you're training?
I would say our work culture in our company is a little bit different than the typical work culture in China. In China, there's a culture called a 996. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. Mm.
Basically, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week.
Yeah,
Now,
it's a lot.
it's a pretty uh pretty strict work culture. There's a lot of work being involved, but it's also how they were able to build so fast. We have a little bit of a hybrid. We don't have a dedicated 996 schedule. We kind of bring a lot of the work culture from the US back to China. So we have regular days off. We work when we need to, as long as the project gets done. So like I don't tell people to clock in at 9 and clock out at 9. Some people might get up at 7 and they reply to some messages, and then they start their official desk work at 9, and they could go home at 5, they could go home at 11 p.m. It's really up to them. It's whenever they finish their projects. And then outside of that, we have regular time off. We have team trips that we organize every single year. I fly the entire team out to Bali last year, which is really
That's cool.
for a remote workplace, because a lot of people that join our company never see their colleagues in person. So every year, I would like to do 1 or 2 trips where I bring everyone together. We can build the culture, build the team chemistry, and the upsides there are really hard to quantify, but you can definitely see it.
And I'm curious too, because what made you decide to shift the cultural standard, right? Because you could have just gone in and kept it the way it was before and stuck with the 996. Like, what was that decision that you're like, I'm going to shift this up a little bit? Because you've also given them a lot of accountability, which has given them freedom, right?
100%. I think
Hmm.
it's it could be dangerous to give so much freedom at first, but I have such high confidence in the people that I hire. And I think it all comes down to the people that you hire and their integrity, right? If you can hire bad actors and give them absolute freedom, they're gonna go haywire. But if you hire really good people that take responsibility, they are accountable, and they share same vision and goals with you, you can't give them a lot more freedom and just expect that they will get the job done. And that's really where we're at. I don't like to implement a workplace culture that I personally wouldn't want to be at a desk at. So it's
Mm.
not because I'm the CEO, I'm not adhering to these same policies. If I was going to put a 996, I would also put myself under the 996. But I personally don't want to be there. I don't want to be in a workplace where I feel like I need to squeeze every single minute out, and I need to um, stay there for the sake of staying there. I want to get things done. And if I get things done earlier, I like to have a life outside of work too. So I gave the same freedom to our employees and expect them to respect that. And so far, never had an issue with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you think about hiring, it sounds like you're hiring not just for the job, but also for the culture. You're checking in and making sure they're aligned with the values, the mission of the company. Is there anything else that's special or unique about like that operating procedure to make sure you're getting the right people on board?
I think for getting the right people on board, yes, number one, we do hire for culture. I think hiring for skill sets is second.
Hmm.
A lot of the things that we do at our company can be trained. Some of the people that have joined our company have had never worked in packaging before, but they go through weeks and weeks of training with us to learn those things. But then at the core, they're great customer facing roles. They're great at getting things done. They're great at XYZ. But at the end of the day, I can trust them. Like every single person I hire, I know I can trust them. If I'm not there for a week, if I'm not there for 2 weeks, I know that nothing will go wrong because these people are honest, they have integrity, and they take accountability. And that's really just comes down to like our hiring standards. We don't hire just anyone. It takes, I think, on average, 2.5 months to hire one single role. It's really hard to find good
That's
people.
great.
But that's really what I think makes us great.
Yeah, it's a really wise investment of time, though. I mean, obviously, because now it's giving you the freedom to go back to the factory every like couple years, like couple times a year, and then give you the opportunity to kind of focus on the clients in the US, the business in the US, these other dynamics and these other arms of the company. So it sounds like that's worth the investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm curious as well. So there's a point when you first started the company. I know you guys are working with some major brands now, present day. How did you get from first starting the company, launching it, just getting those first clients to landing some of these top brands that you're connected with today?
Our story is unique. It's not replicable by everyone. It's purely because I've been on the brand side for so long that I just had a Rolodex of contacts of founders that I could talk to. Because when I was running my own beauty brand, I would be at these industry events, these networking events with other beauty brands of they sell into Sephora, they sell into Target. Like we knew everyone and everyone knew each other. So when I started this company, immediately my first 50 clients were people that I knew from the industry already. It is not conventional. I can't say like people can listen and immediately do it, but I would say, for any founders listening to this that are looking to pivot, always look at what are the resources that you have accumulated over the years, because these are all assets. Every person that every relationship that you have, if you've done a great job of maintaining those relationships, they're all transferable. And then I think that's what we did. People trusted me from the work that I've done on the brand side, so much so that when I became a manufacturer, they believed that I had the same level of competency in being a manufacturer. And that's why they started working with us. And amongst pricing and quality and other things, they believed in me. And that's why they wanted to work with me.
Mhm. That's awesome. I think it's also wisdom as you're sharing. It's like, what is your current network? Who do you know? What relationships have you built? Because I'm sure that people have been doing things for decades that they don't even realize has made such an impact that they can capitalize on in an inspiring way.
Reputation is everything.
Mhm.
I think one, people should be a good person to begin with, but just know that if you're not, it will always follow you unless you change your name and move out of the country. Like reputation really, really matters. So do good work. Do not let anyone down, and whatever you do next will always come back for you.
Yeah, yeah, beautifully said. Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum. And so I'm curious too, because, also when we talked about building your company, you don't do trade shows. You're not traditionally diving into those like other packing companies do. So why is your strategy different? And share with us a little bit about your marketing strategy, because it's not anything that any other packing companies are up to.
For sure. So, most factories and most B2B businesses, they have to get clients through conventions, trade shows, and those are still great avenues to tackle. But for us, we've always knew that our demand are generated through our content. And so we focus a lot of time on making great short form content, long form content. We get about 40 million views a year. Those 40 million views translate to hundreds of inquiries every single week. For you to get 100 inquiries at a trade show, you will have to be the biggest guy at the trade show, spending $200,000 on your booth, great decor, great build out, just for you to get 100 inquiries from that trade show alone. Or getting that per video. So for us, we knew that there wasn't a need for us to go the conventional route of going to trade shows and cold email and whatnot. We can generate demand just as much, if not better, through the short form content that we have for virtually zero cost, right?
Mhm.
We don't have $100,000 to throw out at a trade show to go to this retail trade show and whatnot. However, I do go there individually just to see what's going on, talk to your brands themselves, but we don't have any booth at any trade shows.
That's wild. And so when you're going, it's more just for market research, connecting with clients, just having this one-on-one dynamic, but you don't even have to invest in anything, basically.
Yeah, I think part of the appeal is how can I do this and build this company without spending a dime on marketing?
Hmm.
That was an appeal for me. I I had a challenge to myself a few years ago where I wanted to build a brand for $500 with just $500, and it was called the $500 Blueprint. Where I started the makeup company I had called Doe Lashes, and you can look this up too. I started with only $500 and grew to $1 million the first year, and that was the same strategy, which is can I do something with very little money and have a asymmetrical upside? And I want to do the same exact thing for manufacturing here. Is like, can I, dismiss all the industry best practices that everyone else is doing? Can I still achieve the same level of results without spending a single dime? So for me, it's part, yes, I know I could do it, but two, it's like I'm very curious to see if I could do it. And that was a fun part for me.
That's cool. I love that question as well, because it's like when we think about it, it kind of challenges us to look at things in a very different way. It's like, can I challenge this industry standard? Can I make something different? of what I'm creating as opposed to just sort of falling into the box. And it's cool because it sounds like you really stuck with some of the important industry standards like quality and customer service, but you're like, this one, I don't think the customers need it, not so much. But breaking that mold gave you guys so much more freedom, so much more opportunity to connect to customers, consumers. And then it sounds like the growth has been just faster than normal in a sense.
100%. We just have a lot more.
Oh, hold on one sec.
Marketing.
We
Oh,
lost you for 1 second, and we lost you at we have a lot more.
I got you.
Yeah.
So basically, I was looking at, instead of spending $1 million on marketing, we can spend $1 million on machinery. We have so much machineries that we have to invest in, buying out new facilities, and these things don't, they're not cheap, right? So instead of us having that extra money to spend on marketing, we reinvest into building a stronger infrastructure. And I think that's how we're able to grow so fast, is we just knew where to invest.
Okay, that's cool. And I'm curious, like, because when we think about this, so you've applied also the tech and the AI to be able to make your infrastructure stronger. How did you identify the bottlenecks that were occurring within the company that you wanted to apply these things to improve it?
100%. So I've worked every single position in this company. When we first started, it was me and one other person. I was answering every single email. I was talking to every single client. And heck, sometimes I might even do the designs. I might tingle with some small design here and there. And I knew nothing about making design, but I knew enough to like learn how to do it. So I really forced myself to take on every position in order to learn where the gaps are for automations and for AI to take over. And the first thing that we did was um, taking all the conversation logs with our clients and feeding it into an LM to identify
Mhm.
communication gaps. What are the things that are taking a lot of time that truly doesn't shouldn't take that much time? And a lot of them are back and forth, confirming colors, confirming designs, confirming pricing. And these things, the 1 day delay here and there can really add up to a week of delay. And a week of delay in manufacturing is a lot of time. So now we're being a lot more proactive. We know what answers people are looking for, what questions people might have because of all the analytics that we've done through AI of all the conversations we've had with our clients. We're now a lot more proactive there. We're also using AI to do predictive analysis, understanding what are the choices that someone might make based on the other information that they give us, and based on that, give them better recommendations. We're also using it in our design processes, in our content production. We're using it in our finances to do forecasting on what kind of materials to buy, what are things we need to stock up on. But all of this had to come from us spending so much time on the ground, understanding exactly what people needed.
Mhm.
And then that's really where AI has played a big role in our growth and efficiency.
That's awesome. And I'm curious too, because I know sometimes it's like, well, what do we use AI for and what do we not use AI for? So how do you make that decision on what's replaceable versus what's not replaceable and is more of a human role?
Anything that we felt like is redundant that truly AI can do with much higher accuracy,
Hmm.
we get to replace. It's almost like 100 years ago, people were knocking on windows as alarm clocks, and now we have alarms. It's the same idea. It's like if I think that this is a alarm knocking type of job in our company, we're replacing it with AI because I don't think this means that any of our current team member needs to leave. It means that our team members can work on more creative things, right? If our team member has to constantly context switch between each client and each thing that they do, it takes a lot of time and bandwidth away from thinking creatively. So we're thinking about, okay, what are the menial work that people have to do right now in our team that we can automate? Data input, automatic updates. Like if you come to and said, hey, where's my order? Our person back then has to go and look through a log to see where your order is. That can be replaced by AI just saying, yeah, your order is right here, right now, at this time, at this location. And we can track that for you. We'll give you the update here. That to me, it's a alarm knocking, right, type of job. So our PMs, our project managers can work on thinking through creatively how to make something better rather than just trying to answer emails and saying, yeah, your item's here and there.
That's cool. And how have you noticed that has changed like how they show up day to day? Just because I mean, you're right. Like we don't want to focus on those menial tasks.
I think our team is happier. They seem more focused and generally more optimistic with where our team is going towards because at the end of the day, as a leader, you're really setting the standard for where your company's heading towards. So that every decision that you make in a company, from the implementation of technologies to policy decisions, all let your team believe that the direction that you're going towards is the direction that they are expecting you to go towards. If at any moment it feels like we're regressing, it brings down team morale, the team energy, and they just feel like there's a lot of uncertainty. Everything that we're doing right here is the exact same playbook that I told them right when they joined the company. I told them from when they joined the company, some have joined a company 2 years ago, some have joined a few months ago. The same timeline of what we're going to do and what we're going to do applies. I tell them this coming year, we're going to be hybrid AI model. We're going to do XYZ, and you guys see these changes. In 2026, we're hoping to be fully autonomous in certain areas of our business, and here's what you should be expecting. So I think as a leader, you need to set very clear expectations for where your ship is heading, and everyone on board will either be on board or not. But you shouldn't constantly shift your direction because that will create a lot of uncertainty for your team members.
Definitely, definitely. And I'm interested as well because you mentioned with the bottleneck dynamic, you guys discovered a lot of bottlenecks because you have been working in all of these specific positions in the company. But now that you're not working in those positions in that company anymore, how do you track the bottlenecks as they start to come up as you guys move towards that goal, that vision?
That's a really great question. So we do weekly check-ins with the people who are on the ground. So our project managers, our designers, our finance people, and even our logistics team. We do weekly check-ins to understand what are the bottlenecks that they're facing because sometimes bottlenecks are not just on your processes, but just in general how people work. I think everyone has different working styles, and so we're trying to create systems that can be effective in different people's working styles and communication styles. So we're constantly monitoring that. And then within the technologies that we're building in our platform, we have a simple button that says, click this and you can report a bug, or click this if there's a request for you to make. And every time there's a request being made, within 2, 3 days, an update is made. Our team is always on top of that. So we like to tell our team that we're creating a platform, but we're really creating a platform for you to use. So every single feedback that you give us allows us to build on the next iteration. And I think having that in-house development team is a big game changer in any kind of business. Regardless if you're in a B2C or a B2B business, having someone who's constantly creating an infrastructure and redesigning it for you is such a key to fast growth.
Amazing. Yeah, and I'm sure they really appreciate that as well because all the little bottlenecks that they're getting stuck in are getting solved more quickly.
I understand.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit more about your core values as well. So, what are the core values of your company? How did you guys uncover those?
I like to base our core values, and I got this inspiration after staying at a nicer hotel. I'm typically a Airbnb guy, so when I started going to like nicer hotels when I'm traveling, I'm like, wow, the concierge here are really, really nice. Like they know what I want before I even ask for it. And
Hmm.
I put that same value in our team. I was like, guys, we're working with really big brands here, people whose livelihoods depend on us because if we mess up, they can't sell that product anymore. There are people's jobs and livelihood at risk. We need to be on top of things and we need to be on top of it before people expect us to be on top of it. So our core value one is treat everyone or treat everything like we're working at a five-star restaurant. Um, sorry, five-star hotel. We need to be proactive, we need to be over communicative, and we need to have honesty and integrity. That's the core of our core value. There's really nothing else too fancy about it. You know, we just got to be honest people. If we make a mistake, we make it right. If our clients want something, we always try to think in their shoe. What are some things that are not only going to make us more money? I think that's a secondary thought. Of course, revenue should always be a focus. But number one is that what is the one thing that we can help our customers solve right now that can lift those headaches for them. And I think money naturally will follow if you're able to be the provider of those solutions.
Yeah, very cool. I also think, yeah, five-star hotels is a great learning experience. And for people who haven't gone to them, it really is as a business owner, you go and you're like, I want to do some of this for my customers. Like it feels quite spectacular to be read in such a way that they do think ahead of time for you. It actually is really cool. So I love that you've created that within the company. And yeah, your customers are kind of getting to that experience in a different way.
People want to be taken care of. And oftentimes in a B2B business, it feels really transactional. And
Hmm.
that's not the relationship that I want to have with our clients. I think obviously we are working on order and obviously there's a transaction, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think when people come to PackinDuck and why they choose us over a bajillion other vendors that are trying to do what we're doing is that we deeply care about our clients and we want our clients to see that they
Hmm.
should work with us and have a peace of mind of saying, I'm going to put in $100,000 of order here and that's going to impact my business for the next quarter. That company that we're working with, PackinDuck, should be someone that I should have no worries on if they're able to execute. And we have to constantly remind ourselves that that's a goal. And we have to do a really good job in every single aspect, replying on time, over delivering, trying to cut down on production time. If we're quoting 17 days, we're usually trying to hit for 15. If we're giving recommendations to people, that's typically what we think will save them the most money long term. So like in
Hmm.
every aspects of what we do with the customers, we're always trying to think, what can we do to put them first? And honestly, everything comes second. If you do a good job there, we'll come back over and over again.
Yeah, massive repeat customers and referrals as well, which it sounds like a lot of the community is very connected. So I'm sure that's been really helpful. Yeah. And how do you instill these core values within the company? Like, how do you make sure that everyone is playing that role in these core values?
You really have to lead by example. I think this is the key of being very involved in your company day in, day out, is that people look at you as a leader and how you interact with the clients and how you resolve clients' issues. And they take that as a reference point. If you do anything lower than that, they're gonna go lower than you, right? You as a leader has to be the person that is setting the highest standard, and you have to hit way above that because no one will really come close to you because they don't own the company like you. So I have to show up every single day. I talk to clients, and whenever one of our team members comes to me and asks me how would you solve this problem, my first question is come to me with a solution of what you would like to do with this situation, and then based on that, I can see if they're really following our core values or not. And
Mm.
they, first or second time, maybe they're new, they don't really understand to what extent they're comfortable doing because sometimes when we mess up an order, let's just say $5,000 to $10,000, we refund that order or we
Mhm.
do it completely free, we do it all over again. Most people who are just working a job is probably afraid of just issuing a $5,000, $10,000 refund. But for me, it's like if we made a mistake and we feel like that is complete our fault, we're gonna make it right to them. If we make a mistake, but the client made a mistake, but it's the first time they didn't really understand it, we'll see what's the middle ground we can do to make them still feel like they're not losing out a lot, but also minimizing our damages. And I always teach our team this. It's that you have to think for our customers, but you also think, what would you do in my position after you've seen what I have done in other situations?
Mhm.
So at the end
That's
of the day, you
cool.
have to lead by example.
Yeah, so part of it is also giving them the opportunity to come up with their own innovative ideas and then coming back and being like, "Hey, you almost got it," or "Hey, you nailed it," or "We're not quite there yet. Let's refresh on our core values."
That's right. That's right. You have to give people autonomy and you have to trust that they will make the right decision. And the truth is, no one's perfect. And I can't say every decision I've made is perfect. Um,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, if if the information that you have been given at that moment led you to that decision that seemed like it was the best decision, I will go with that. And I trust that
Yeah.
the right decision to make.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. Very cool. And also the vision of the company. Like, what is the mission, vision of the company that you guys have long term?
Long term, we're actually going to not be a manufacturer. We're going to be a technology company empowering manufacturers. So one of the things that we're building right now is an ERP. So that is basically our platform that will conduct our business, our project management. think of it like a super AI power assistant for packaging. We're going to in-house that we will now license out to other factories to also use in a year or so. That's the main goal. The other goal is we become the platform that people come to for all sorts of packaging, and we're able to triage those demand to other factories that meet our demand. Um, why we want to do that is because demand generation is one of the key issues for many factories. Like I mentioned previously, they have to go to trade shows, they have to go to cold email, they have to do all sorts of
Mhm.
demand. We have an opposite problem of that. We have too much demand that we simply cannot handle. But we know that there are factories out there that can do just as good of a job, if not better than us, that we haven't known yet. Maybe they're in Poland, maybe they're in Turkey, maybe they're in all parts of Europe that we don't know yet. So we want to welcome these factories into our network and triage our demand to these factories. So one, will have our internal software that we'll license out to these factories to use. And two, we'll have a demand platform where we can triage these inquiries to these people. I think in 5 years, that's our main goal, is to be a technology company rather than just a manufacturer. But for us to build a great technology company, my personal philosophy is that we need to understand how things work by being a factory and building a technology to service what we feel like are problems. A lot of software companies, I feel like, are solving problems for people that they have never been in the shoes of, right? They're trying to solve things without understanding what are the actual pain points. They just know there's a problem and they want to solve it. I don't want to take that approach. I actually want to suffer in the
Mhm.
problems that manufacturers are going through and then build a technology to solve those problems personally.
Mhm. Which is just speaking to them to a greater and greater degree. Yeah, when
Right.
we understand them to that depth, you're genuinely understanding what they're going through, why they're going through it, and the specific technology that's going to take them to the other side. It's very cool. Yeah, I love that. And also, so when you think about like the dynamic of transferring over to a technology company, you're thinking about doing that in 5 years. Is that something that you're even preparing your employees for today?
Not quite. I think a lot of these grand visions I have in 5 years are too far along for everyone to be on board with. I think right now I want them to focus on near term, next few months. What are we building? Um, I think my job as the CEO is to think in 3 years, 5 years timeline.
Hmm.
And oftentimes you kind of want to protect that because you don't want your team to be distracted,
Hmm.
right? But you let them know that in 5 years, here's what we're heading towards, but you don't distract them with all the nitty-gritty details until I actually have a platform to show them.
Yeah. And how do you choose who gets involved more on the bigger day-to-day level on the long-term plan versus who you want to stay focused on the short term?
I think generally our team knows where we're heading towards. Like I always tell them, in a few years, we're not just going to be a factory, we're going to be a technology power factory of network. So generally everyone knows what the big picture is. But in terms of like the day-to-day progress of what we're building, our technology team knows, our logistic team knows, our admin team, like our executive team, my CFO, my CEO, my directors know, but our project managers or like our designers, they don't really need to be distracted by these details. Whenever we have a big milestone to report on, we let them know. So whenever we ship a new
Mhm.
product or ship a new features, they would know. Everyone knows because there's always something within the product that we're shipping that applies to them. So for example, we recently just shipped what we call the Duck Pond portal. That basically is, we're trying to create the Ironman for our team, the Ironman suit. That's how I like to describe it. Basically, it allows every single one of our team members to move a lot faster, more accurate. For example, instead of just sending an email, our tool now shows the email, shows the context of the client, shows the background of the client, and you can ask it any question to recall any part of the messages that we've ever had with the client. So immediately we can say, when did we talk to them? When was the last time we quoted something to them? What was that they're asking for last week? We can ask these questions internally and the information will just be there. So really like an Iron Man suit for our team members. We built that tool also for HR so we can hire faster and do interviews faster. We also built that for our finance so we can track our accounts receivable, accounts payable all in one place and do forecasting based on our order volume. That I would say is an important piece of technology for everyone in our company to know because it always applies to every single team. But what we're building in 3 years, what we're building in 5 years, personally, I just have an idea of, but I can't know everyone yet, right? It's all in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still in your head. Plus, you still are gaining more experience, it sounds like. Yeah. And do you think it'll just stay within like packing companies, or do you ever think you'll translate some of this into other areas? Because even as you were going through some of the software dynamic that you were just speaking about, I was like, wow, that's like really helpful in multiple industries.
For now, we're just focused on our own lane. I'm pretty sure someone's going to take some of these and apply it to other industry, or maybe it has happened already. I found in the past that the things I built are not always entirely unique to me, which is fine, because I don't think I'm the smartest person on earth. I'm sure there's someone else that's thought about this thing for something else in another industry, another geographic location. Um, I'm sure what we're building is not rocket science, but for me, I know in packaging specifically, no one's really done what we're building.
Very cool. And even the compliance dynamic, because I know we had talked about compliance before, and that your company has a really great understanding of compliance, which varies depending on what retailers you guys are going to. Is that something that, well, I'm sure that's something that you knew from just having the beauty products, but how else did you refine that? How have you managed that to ensure that you're kind of one of the leading edge there?
So to give some more context to the readers, this is regarding um, when clients work with us, we have a very comprehensive understanding of what retailers are looking for because every retailer has their own policies for their shelving requirements. What goes on a Costco shelf might be different than what goes onto a Target shelf and what goes onto a Sephora shelf. The technology that we're building in-house, the AI assistant for packaging, has all that knowledge because truthfully, these information are public from the retailers themselves. We just have um a vast knowledge of all combined together so that when we're with you on creating your packaging, depending on where this is going towards or what it was for, maybe it's medical grade, maybe this is for cannabis and you need to have child-proof packaging, or maybe this is going on a beauty counter and needs to be a certain height. We have all that knowledge internally so that when you work with us, you're not only working with humans that understand packaging, you're also working with our AI assistants that understand the complexity of shelving requirements for every single retailer.
Nice. You also mentioned that you are doing more consolidation as well, right? So as opposed to just doing paper, cardboard products, you've dove into, you do plastics, metals, glass, and you're even doing some shipping. So how have you pulled all of that together practically, and why choose to do all those things?
I think consolidation was important for us because a lot of our clients don't just use one single material, right? When you think about a body wash, it comes in a plastic bottle, but it could also come in a paper box where the plastic bottle goes in. And then for you to ship that, it probably comes in a brown box or it might come in a poly mailer, like the bag, the shipping bags you get when you buy from Amazon. So just on that one product alone is three different types of packaging. Most clients will have to talk to three different vendors for that. But for us, because we consolidate it, we're able to earn on each of these material types. But for the client's perspective, they also only have to talk to one person. The amount of time that saves them is ginormous. The amount of volume that we can combine together to get them the best prices is also
Mhm.
significant. So instead of talking and negotiating with three different vendors, you can work with one vendor and leveraging the volume across these three materials to bring down your total cost. That I think is a huge savings for a lot of our clients, but also for us, we're also able to expand our revenue channels from just one material to six different materials.
That's cool. And I could see that's part of the benefit of sort of shifting the marketing plan and changing it and reinvesting in all this different equipment and all these different dynamics so you can consolidate. It's just like you just invested it in this other area to expand the company.
That's right.
Yeah. And you guys are growing fast, right? But also in reality, like growth does, it sucks cash. It hits your team and systems. So how do you actually respond to the rapid growth to ensure that your cash flow is healthy, your team is healthy, your systems are healthy?
We're doing our best. I can't say we have a perfect fit. for that. I think this business is very cash intensive. At any given time, there's multi-million dollars on the line that we are expecting to receive and we're expecting to pay at any given moment. I don't think we've had anything lower than a few $1 million for quite a long time now. So like at any given moment, we're expecting this amount of cash and we're expecting to pay this amount of cash to different suppliers of ours. It is quite chaotic. I can't lie. It's a very cash flow intensive business, especially for a company that is entirely bootstrapped, right? We have no outside investor. Every single cent we've gotten is from the work that we produce. Um, I think this really comes down to proper risk management, knowing our clients, knowing who to work with and who to extend terms to, right? A lot of factories extend terms with net 30, net 60, pay after XYZ. You can't just give that to every single person because you're just taking way too much risk. So we also try to assess the risk per client based on what we know about their business and where their future holds. So, for example, one of our clients urgently needs a bigger line of credit with us because they're going to Walmart. We know Walmart has a very, very long payment term, usually net 90. So we're like, okay, you know what? You've been with us for quite a long time. We're going to support you,
Mhm.
extend an extra line for you so you can order more ahead of the holiday season. And I know that Walmart's got to give you a hard time. So like we can play around the payment terms here. That I would say is the reason why people work with us is because we're not a black and white type of manufacturer. We understand your business, we understand certain needs and urgency,
Mhm.
and we try to be flexible for that. But at the same time, our clients like us because they're able to feel like they're growing with us, right? A lot of people are capped at on paper what they're able to order. But with us, we know that Walmart is obviously a vendor that is going to pay them. They're not going to go anywhere. So as long as our clients are in Walmart at a good place, have a good relationship, we're going to get our money back anyways. So we're able to underwrite that type of risk. But if it's a brand new store coming together, they launched last week and they want to order 100,000 units, we're going to want payments up front because we don't know these guys. We don't know where they're going to sell to. They could buy 100,000 units and never sell a single unit tomorrow, and we're just out of luck. So that type of risk management is what myself and my CFO do on a day-to-day basis that allows us to function and try to reduce our risk exposure.
That's awesome. And so it's basically you and the CFO that are managing and looking at the risk.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's definitely wisdom. I love how you guys kind of separated it very wisely. Yeah, because cash flow is
Right.
big.
Knock on wood, nothing happens, but we try.
Yeah, you guys are trying, and I'm sure things happen from time to time and you face it when it does. But yeah, that's very cool. And I'm curious as well. So, again, thank you for coming. And as we start to come to the close, is there anything else that you'd love to share with other business owners as they grow, scale their company, their vision?
I've heard so many advice from people. I listen to podcasts, I see on posters. And for the longest time when I was younger, I thought they're all really corny, but like this is a very corny one I believe is true. But people really is everything in your business. You can have the greatest product, you can have the greatest momentum, and it can all be killed by one wrong person, one bad apple. So be very, very cautious. Fire slow, fire fast. Is
We lost you at be very cautious. And I feel like this is so important for people to hear.
be very cautious with who you bring into the business. Hire slow, fire fast is a philosophy that I've heard many, many times, but I didn't really understand, and it wasn't applicable to me until I was building a larger company. We now have 35, and I would say every single person in this team is crucial to the growth of the company. There is a very clear question that you have to ask yourself. It's like if this person disappears tomorrow from our team, would you be very upset? And I'll say I'll be very upset if any one of our person in our team leaves tomorrow. And that speaks to the importance that they play in our company and their role. And people really is everything. We would not be able to get to anywhere we're getting to without a lot of people putting in their work, believing in our vision. And so, as a leader, my final advice is set very clear expectations of where the goalpost is and help your team to get there no matter what. So, your job, don't overcomplicate it. Tell them exactly where the target is and do whatever you can to help them get there. That's your only job as a CEO.
It's beautifully said. So definitely being a leader in your own company, and simultaneously, I think it just loops back to what you were saying before, that you guys have a 2.5 month hiring process, which is quite a long time. But based on what you said, it's really important because I love that you shared that. If you lost anyone in your company right now, like you're not a happy camper. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And let's share with the audience as well where they can find you, which I'll pop in the show notes too.
Right. Our website is PackinDuck, PAKING, DUCK, I'm personally on Instagram at PUG. I don't post too much work stuff there. I just post a lot of I mean, here and there I'll give a lot behind the scenes look at our factories. I talk about our progress. I'm a very public founder. I like to document our process, so you'll see a lot of updates there.
Awesome. And thank you so much again for coming. I really appreciate everything you shared today.
Of course, thanks for having me, Carly.
Yeah.